Hey y'all, welcome to Gadfly, the podcast about third parties, fringe candidates, and just generally weird American electoral history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
I'm Una O'Leary.
And Una, it is primary season once again. We are in the thick of it.
You mean
God damn it.
still?
Seriously? Car horn's gonna go off outside? No one's stealing your car, man. No one ever wants to.
No, that car is saying primary 2022.
Oh my God. It's a great start. Very auspicious. Anyway, yeah, the primaries are back, and Ohio had theirs, and so did Indiana. And it was mostly chaos, mostly terrible chaos. So just some highlights of the whole shebang. JD Vance ends up moving on because the world is a dark and scary place. There's a few lesser known folks who ended up winning on the congressional side that I think are going to be important to talk about in the future. We'll get to them at some point. There's Max Miller, who used to work in the Trump White House, who has a long history of violence and domestic abuse. He apparently was in a relationship with Melania Trump's chief of staff, and she's
that guy.
Yeah, that guy just in a heavily red district won the Republican primary. There's Madison Gesiotto Gilbert, who is a former Miss Ohio, I believe from 2004, I believe. She has really no campaign, but she has the Trump backing, and she's mostly just like a Fox News talking head off and on. The real worry is a fellow by the name of J.R. Majewski. Now, he looks like his name sounds. He's just like, it looks like he got kicked out of a bowling alley and never left the bar where he went to after that.
Oh my God.
His job is hard to figure out. He claims to be an expert on nuclear energy, but reports seem to indicate he's a security guard at a nuclear plant.
Oh, so he's like a racist Homer.
Yeah.
Homer Simpson.
His big claim to fame with the internet is at some point during the 2020 campaign, he painted his lawn blue and then put a Trump sign on it, said Trump 2020, but someone found an old picture of it from over top with a drone where the zeros in the 2020 have been turned into Qs. So he is a QAnon, supposedly white supremacist, supposedly Nazi-aligned fellow who's going to be going up against Marcy Kaptur, who has been a Democratic congresswoman for Ohio for quite some time, and the district has been changed just enough that Marcy's seat is at risk. So thanks, Ohio. You done it.
Gross.
Yeah.
Thanks. I hate it.
Yeah. And yeah, with all that, I really can't note what Indiana did differently. It's like, you elected people. I'm busy. I'm busy with this. I'm sure there's stuff to talk about, but this house is on fire and I kind of have to give it attention. So it's very exciting. I'm personally excited. Tomorrow is our next round of primaries in Nebraska and West Virginia. People are not excited and mostly do not care.
Yeah. They need to care, but
they do. It's become my goal to shame the Nebraska Democratic Party because of all the state row offices, which is like governor, secretary of state, treasurer, that sort of stuff. The Democrats are running in one. They're running for governor and nothing else.
There's no Democrats?
Nope, they just chose not to run in any other state offices, which means that the Libertarians and the Legal Marijuana Now Party have more nominees for state office than the Democrats do.
Well, good for the Legal Marijuana Now Party.
Honest to God, they have been pulling so much weight in Nebraska. It is bonkers. This guy, I believe his name is either Mark Allsworth or Mark Ashworth, looked like he was going to be the Democratic nominee for a serious position back in 2020. And I think when they found out, I was like, oh, this is the guy who leads the Legal Marijuana Now Party in Nebraska. We need to run someone so it's not him. Like they kind of move someone forward, but yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, y'all need to quit. You're all clearly very bad at this. At minimum, like 1 year before every primary, you should just have a list of people who are like, okay, if no one signs up for this, I'm going to. You don't have to run a campaign. You don't have to put a lot of time in it. You just got to get on the fucking ballot.
Yeah, like our OG homeboy, Ricky.
Oh, Rocky. Yeah, Rocky would have run for every single office. You give him a decent condo in Omaha, and he would run for all of them. No questions asked.
Keep him away from the bank.
Rocky, I hope you're okay. I haven't heard from you in about 2 years. Your website's down. You don't really tweet anymore. Blink once
twice,
for
buddy.
Yes, twice for no.
Yeah.
So this is the news going in. The big thing in Nebraska, too, is the Republican governor's race is a weird trash fire where Trump decided to endorse a guy who was later found to have allegedly sexually harassed 8 different women, including a state senator.
I'm starting to feel like that's a prerequisite.
It's getting to the point where those sorts of things don't seem to matter anymore.
Oh, that we're beyond mattering, but it's almost just like on your resume, show that you have battered women in the past.
As you can see, I got away with it. So clearly, I would be great for auditor.
suck up to the great man himself just enough, but not too much. You don't want to look desperate.
Exactly. No one wants to be Mitt Romney at a dinner.
No one wants to be Ted Cruz anytime.
Oh my God, what a terrible curse. You know, if reincarnation is a thing, I imagine Ted Cruz is probably the lowest rung you come back as.
Like you come back as a Ted Cruz.
Yeah, it's just like, fuck, now I have to be Ted Cruz. I have to act like I like myself and I have respect for myself or something.
Maybe I'd be a Beatle.
You know what? I'm going to make this work.
What did I do?
Well, on that note, you know, we're in the thick primary season, but we got to go back to our fun little topics, the serious topics about how to restore male virility through goat testicles.
Because we're a political podcast.
We fucking are. He ran for mayor. That's a politic. He did it. And if it wasn't for fucking World War I of the goddamn Kaiser, he could have served. But no, he had to have a nervous breakdown in the army and then go home.
In quotes.
You know, I'm not going to say that he didn't. I could see, like, I would. Like, if I was like some doctor guy who's never thrown a punch in his life, and all of a sudden it's like, guess what? You're going to the Somme. Have fun.
I'm sorry, mustard what now?
Yeah. No. Allergic to that. I am can it be cured with mustard testicles? If not, I am going home.
Oh no, the shakes.
So I would believe that he did potentially have that, but you know, he's a con artist, so who fucking knows? So anyway, so we come back to Dr. John R. Brinkley. After he's had this huge burst of fame in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Post, I believe, has invited him out to do a bunch of surgeries on the owner of the paper and some editors. It went really well. So a bunch of movie stars showed up and well-to-do people. They end up leaving with around, like, if I remember right, $1.8 million in today's money after a month of work. And so, you know, things are going really, really good. And as well, you know, they have their hospital is finally getting a new surge in patients. It's kind of been up and down with it, you know, feast or famine. He's either gotten fame and now has a ton of people coming to the hospital, or that fame is waned and no one's coming to the hospital.
You know, it's a grift. So you're going to have ups and downs.
Exactly. Yeah. No grift is evergreen. There's no McDonald's of grift. So after all this fame in Los Angeles, John and Minnie took the opportunity to expand the practice as far as they could. Also, it was the summer and both hated the Kansas heat. So, you know, we can find some common ground there. And according to John's biography, he and Minnie would spend 1921 to 1923 traveling to perform the surgery all over the world.
Ooh,
They initially went to New England. He got his license in Connecticut through reciprocity, I believe. Yeah, I forget what that term was. If you have it in one place, they'll be like, okay, you can have one.
Yeah, I think it's reciprocity.
Yeah. So Connecticut's like, okay, you know, you have one in Kansas and Missouri, we'll give you one. And so he starts doing the surgery in Connecticut. They buy a home in Connecticut. It becomes their summer residence for a while. So they're there. They go back to California to do some more surgeries. Then they go to Japan, China, Vietnam, Singapore, Egypt, and Switzerland to perform surgeries.
Hell yeah. Rack up those miles. Get those points.
He would even claim to have circumcised one of the princes of Siam, which, you know what, for the fuck of it, I'm going to look into this because that sounds like something you would use in a medicine show.
Siam, now known as Thailand, still has a monarchy.
Yes.
And I would say it's one of those things where it's like, no one is going to double check this.
Yeah, there's no like Telegram version of Wikipedia where you could really look into this quickly. But I have it, so I'm going to fucking do it, you con artist.
Yay!
Dusty's on your ass. Fucking deal with it. So I looked into it. And all in all, if you're going to make a lie, and if you're going to make like a big con lie, this is the one to do. It seems, though, that if we're talking about the princes who existed at the time, they were probably fathered by Chulalongkorn or King Rama V. And he was what historians would call very busy with women. In total, he would have 77 children amongst his 116 spouses and consorts.
Good for him.
Look,
he did not need goat testicles.
No, he did
on his own testicles.
No, I imagine John was like, what does the king use? I would really like to know. Like, is it goats? It's not goats. I shouldn't ask if it's goats. We're gonna
New procedure. We put king testicles on you, plebeian testicles.
King Rama killed, testicles taken. Of course, it's Americans or some white person did it.
Yep.
So he has 77 kids. So you could just say, you know, Prince of Siam without a name, and it's really tough to check up on those 77 to figure out which one. But I'm going to try to dive in to try to pinpoint which of these princes he circumcised.
Oh shit! All right.
So of his 77 kids, 33 were sons. And in 1923, only 11 were still alive. Of those 11, 2 would die within that year or were too ill to travel, so we can knock those 2 out. Because John would claim that the surgery occurred on a transoceanic voyage to Egypt. So that brings us down to 9. Of these 9, 2 would later become king. And if John or his biographer would want to say, oh, is the king of Siam that I did this surgery on, not a prince of Siam, that's throwing away clout. So I'm going to knock those 2 out. That seems like a wasted opportunity for when the biography was written. So we're down to 7. Sure. Also, Rama the 6th and Rama the 7th. Rama the 6th had a daughter and no other children. Rama the 7th had no children at all. So can knock them out for being potential circumcision victims of this doctor. So we're down to 7. And 7's when I discovered that all kids of princes gained the title of prince or princess. And like their dad, some of these people had a metric fuck ton of babies. So I quit. And I figured, you know what? You win this, John. You fucking won.
I hate to ask the useless question, but why? Why circumcise?
Oh, I thought you were going to say, why have that many kids? And it's like, I don't know, sex is fun and you have servants to raise them. I don't know. But yeah, I don't, that's a great question. I don't know enough about, is it Hinduism or Buddhism? That's Southeast Asia. I want to say it's Buddhism.
Buddhism for Thailand. Yeah.
I don't know enough about Buddhism to know if circumcision is required or if it's like a medical practice or if it was like in vogue. I don't fucking know. It's
right, because I just assume our boy has some amount of anti-Semitism because most people did, and people who were generally getting circumcised are of the Jewish faith.
Yeah. So I honestly don't really know, but it's, if you're gonna make a bold lie, that's the one to do it. There's like hundreds of people who could call themselves prince. No one's going to check on it. And no one's going to say, yeah, I had my dick mangled by some quack on a boat.
It's like 1/8 of the country. Good luck.
Yeah, you can't get your social security card here unless you're a prince. So, tough luck for the 10 who aren't. So that was a fun little rabbit hole that led to goddamn nowhere.
I guess you try. I appreciate that.
But yeah, it's, the thing I would like to believe is that since there are already so many princes, that it could kind of go around the other way, that if you were from Thailand and you were on a boat with a bunch of rich people, you'd be like, yeah, I'm one of the princes of Siam.
For me, I'm a prince.
Yeah.
Siam.
Yeah. And so I'd like to believe that this is the one time that John Brinkley got rooked and just gave away a free circumcision.
Yes, I like this. Except like, oh God. Anyway, like why? Again, why? But look, fine.
Free surgery, man. Doesn't matter. I'll take an appendectomy. I'm good.
Fair enough.
Look, I'm at sea. I got nothing else to do. Let's get weird.
It's free.
Exactly. Fuck it. I'll take 2. And so, I have just realized all this time that the Brinkleys are traveling the world, John's nemesis is back in the States and has been preparing to rip John a whole new one. If you remember from the last time, this is when John starts pissing off the American Medical Association and earns his nemesis for life, a fellow by the name of Morris Fishbane. Now, Morris was born in 1889 in St. Louis, Missouri, to a pair of Jewish immigrants. He graduated from Rush Medical College here in Chicago and worked as a physician with a focus on infectious diseases. So, a real doctor doing serious work.
What a concept.
Yeah. Rush Medical College was so good that it is still around today and still very respected.
That's not nothing.
Morris's big move, though, would be when he was named the editor of the Journal of the American Medical Association, which he used to go after various quack practices throughout the country. In his book, Fads in Quackery and Healing, Morris went hard against homeopathy, osteopathy, Christian Science, electromagnetic therapy, and the thing that still gives him shit to this day, chiropractic.
Yeah.
The thing that started with cracking your bones because ghosts are in them.
Listen, but sometimes it just feels nice.
Look, I'm not going to lie. It's one of those things that started out a bit of bullshit, but actually ends up having a decent value. It's one of those rare things of like, oh, I fucked up into something decent. Yeah. Just quit talking about the ghosts.
Like, people can shit talk chiropractic all they want, and then they hit 30 and they sleep funny one night.
Yep.
Guess who you're running to?
Yep. Look, you got to crack those endorphins out one way or another, and I do not trust myself to do it. We'll say the one time I've had chiropractic when the guy cracked my neck bones, that's like the most trust I think I've ever given anyone, and it was worth it. Anyway, so Morris goes against all these things, and chiropractics to this day refer to him as medical Mussolini.
Okay, calm down.
Yeah, look, I will say this. There are some very good chiropractors out there. And on the other side, you have a load of MAGA chiropractors who are like, COVID's not real, and just kind of go down the alt medicine rabbit hole. So it's a weird Venn diagram, I guess you could say. Either which way, Morris didn't just hate those practices, but he also hated the entire medical foundation that John Brinkley had based his career on, eclectic medicine. In his book, Morris spends one chapter on the practice, and it reads less of a warning and more like an obituary written a few weeks before its death. He notes that once eclectic medical colleges were plentiful, but in 1920, only one existed in the entire country, and it was the very first one to exist in Cincinnati, Ohio. But he still took the time to state that the eclectics refused to give up on natural treatments that had been debunked, actively fought against newer medical discoveries, but also did not offer legit medical training. So by the time that John and Minnie returned home, they found that the Kansas City Journal-Post and the St. Louis Star had been looking into eclectic medical schools, and via a series of articles revealed that they were nothing more than diploma mills. John's alma mater in Kansas City was one of the schools featured, and journalists found that they were selling medical degrees for $1,000 a pop. So they discovered the scheme that the school had for John and his class to drive everyone down to Arkansas because no one in Missouri was going to verify their licenses. And then once you have your Arkansas license, Missouri's like, all right, through reciprocity, you have a license here too.
Oh, amazing. And then you go to Connecticut, and then Connecticut gives it to you. And then you keep going around the world.
Yeah, to all 8 states that offer reciprocity for your diploma. And there you go. So this gets discovered. The state of Connecticut was so embarrassed at the volume of eclectic doctors they had given licenses to under false pretenses that they nullified all of them in one day, including John's.
Damn.
John was furious that Connecticut could revoke his license without trial, but they did offer him a chance to come and testify at the state legislature, as did California. However, he was out of the continent at the time, so, I can't really make it, guys. Sorry. To which Connecticut, being the stern New England types they are, said, no, it's cool. We'll wait until you get back. He would never end up testifying there at all. They just never went
summer
back.
Home in Connecticut.
Yeah. I imagine they were so fucking pissed off too. California took things a step further and took away his medical license, which John called, quote, a persecution no more justified than the persecution of Christ. The state then indicted him with conspiracy to circumvent the medical licensing requirements of the state and requested he be extradited to face charges.
Ooh, nice.
The thing though is John Brinkley is best friends with the governor of Kansas, Jonathan Davis, and Governor Davis refused to extradite him, essentially saying, Kansas is here, California is far away. He's not causing you any trouble. I'm not going to do it.
It's fine. Just don't use the metals and magnets that he left here.
Yeah. If you have any goats, set them free or eat them. I don't care. I'm not giving you this guy. So for anyone else, this would harken the beginning of an end. It's the moment you pack your bags, leave town at the 3 a.m. train to never return again. But John had learned a lesson when he was in Los Angeles. If you want true popularity, you have to rely on the media. So he built his own radio station about it.
Oh my God.
KFKB, which stood for Kansas First, Kansas Best, was founded in 1923. The stated goal was to give patients something to listen to while they're recuperating. He also set the standard that the station would have no advertising and no pre-recorded segments, which went completely against everything because records are cheap, bands are expensive, and if you want to run a radio station with no advertising, how the fuck are you going to do that?
With his millions of Hollywood buckaroonies.
Yes, pretty much. So a typical schedule would be divvied into half-hour segments. There'd be music played by different orchestras, a morning health report, and an evening kids segment presented by the banker's wife, who went by the name the Tell Me a Story Lady. Yeah, just clearly it flows so well. Regional musical acts would also be invited to play as well when the schedule had an opening. The station became an invaluable resource for farmers and ranchers because it was the only way that they were able to get up-to-date weather reports to know what was coming. But they also updated how much the price of grain was at each of the different grain elevators, so they knew whether or not it was a good idea to go to town to sell, instead of the old way of just being like showing up and hope you got a good price.
No one thought of this before?
No, well, it's just because radio stations weren't a thing. The very first radio station had been the year before in Los Angeles.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And it's like, a few popped up after that. If I remember right, KFKB was like the second or third radio station in Kansas, but there just were not that many.
Well, goddamn. Okay, 2 observations. One, I love that John Brinkley is like an Fox male in that he screams that he's getting cancel cultured and then starts his own Sirius FM station.
Yep.
And then 2, he's also like the trailblazer for those garbage right-leaning TV news programs that are in every doctor's office that you cannot for the life of you have turned off.
Nope.
Ever.
I hate it when I'm getting my teeth done and the Tell Me a Story lady comes on. It's like, I get it. I've heard this one. I'm sick of socialists interrupting my bear stories. And so it was really cool with what he was doing. Another really awesome thing he did is that he contacted the Kansas State University's College of Agriculture and worked out a deal where professors there would broadcast lectures, complete with homework assignments at the end. And if you completed these classes with assignments, then you could get college credit just from listening.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this was probably one of the best inventions for farmers in Kansas at the time. You're being pushed ahead light years just from one radio station giving a shit.
Yeah. Wow.
Now I will say the program at Kansas State, they would decide, hey, we should just have our own radio station, and then ran it that way after a year.
I mean,
you might as well. I mean, TCOM's not going to make itself. John was also able to buy himself some political clout by inviting politicians onto his station because it's new and fandangled and a great way to talk to a bunch of people in a short time. And so he would end up getting Governor Jonathan Davis, Senator and future Vice President Charles Curtis, and Congressman James Strong, which bought him some nice little political protection. Say if, I don't know, California wanted to drag you back and throw you in jail. John would also take to the airwaves 3 times a day, also while he's doing surgeries during the day as well. So his typical schedule would be at 12:30, he'd present health talk. At 2:30, he would do the medical question box where people sent in letters and then he would diagnose them over the radio.
Oh, so it's car talk, but your insides.
Yeah, it's like shitty telehealth.
Yes.
And then at 6:30, he would close off the day and sign off the station at 7 o'clock. Just kind of talk about whatever he wanted. And sure, he didn't have any ads, but that didn't stop John from talking about his goat gland surgery whenever he wished. He would beckon to listeners, quote, "Come to Milford for the fountain of youth." Supposedly, he'd also had a tone of voice that put listeners at ease. The radio station spread his name across the state. And as more and more people traveled to Milford, word of mouth spread. By 1924, the doc was getting patients from every state, as well as Australia, Austria, Canada, England, France, Germany, Mexico, New Zealand, Norway, South Africa, and Sweden. John's goat hookup reported he was sending about 40 goats a week during this time from Arkansas. And you have to remember, it has to be a specific kind of goat. Because if you get the wrong one, the balls smell too much and you will smell as well.
Oh.
The hospital staff began to grow more and more as patients arrived. John, of course, led the place. Minnie doubled as the vice president of the hospital, as well as the anesthesiologist.
Ooh.
You know, I kind of panicked at that a little bit, and then I realized, oh, it's just ether. She's just pouring ether on your face.
she's just slapping a cloth in front of your face. For 5 to 15 seconds.
Yeah, it's, she has a degree, so I guess I could trust that.
Next to the University of KNKBC.
Exactly. I might have misread this, but I think John also gave her a diploma after graduating the hospital's nursing school.
Oh my goodness. It sounds like innuendo, but it's not.
The book. Yeah, and so she's the anesthesiologist. Her brother Tiberius drove out to Kansas to be their pathologist and part-time surgeon. And of course, there's poor old Horatio, who, if you remember, has been attacked by John at least twice in drunken rages, one time resulting in Horatio's ear getting cut off.
Oh, God, that's right.
So Horatio at this point does not have a license to practice medicine, so he's doing all the non-surgical duties the hospital needed, like running the x-ray and being the Brinkley's personal chauffeur.
Oh, boy. I mean, isn't it enough that these men are named Horatio and Tiberius?
Yeah, it doesn't, I don't like it. I will say Horatio does eventually get his license to practice surgery, so.
Hey, happy end for Horatio.
Yeah. So by this point, John claimed to have perfected his surgery, as well as patient intake. So let's say, Una, you've decided to go to Milford, Kansas to get this surgery. Mazel.
Yes.
First, you need to show up, and you're greeted by Minnie, who is depicted as a cheerful and jovial sort who welcomes all new arrivals, saying, quote, "Here come my men."
Sure, it's a different time. Fine.
Yeah. And it's typically described as a bunch of elderly men coming from the train station and walking to the hospital.
And I feel great because I have elected to have goat balls put inside me.
I mean, you do have the option of ovaries as well. So,
right.
Oh. So you would then be given the option of choosing which goat you wanted for the surgery. Like a lobster.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Lobster.
Now, if you didn't really care, either Minnie or Horatio would pick one for you using their expertise.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah. Afterwards, you would wait your turn until being called into the operation room. And you'd either be operated on by John or Tiberius. Minnie would give you your anesthesia. John would then begin his upgraded 4-step process, which he only had for men. There's really no 4-step process, it seems, for women, but this is the one I could find. So step 1, slices of goat testicles would be placed within the testes of the patient. 2, he would block the vas deferens on that side. His belief was that if he didn't do this, the raw sexual power for the patient would be too much. Quote, the patient would be given the lascivious use of his power. 3, make sure the spermatic cord is open to the vas deferens. And 4, transplant a blood vessel and a nerve to the testes to ensure sufficient blood supply to the transplant. Years later, a surgeon at Glasgow University, which is one of the schools that refused to give John an honorary diploma, would be asked to look into his methods and found some inaccuracies in the process. First, he believed that John actually used the whole goat testes due to the goats that he used being only 3 months old, and at that age, the gland isn't big enough to slice into smaller bits. Second, he noted that he actually wasn't implanting the gland in the testes. What he was doing was he was cutting into like kind of the upper groin where the vas deferens was, and then implanting there. But since you're not watching the procedure from your point of view, because you're fucked up on ether, who's going to stop you?
What do you know? You're not the doctor.
Exactly. I can barely spell vas deferens. I was repeatedly told I was wrong by spell check. So thanks, school. Appreciate it. And so it seems like he mainly did this because this time he would inject mercurochrome to clear any infections, which, yes, is a mercury-based form of iodine. It's actually been illegal to use in America since 1998.
I thought you were going to say like a year after all of this was going down.
Oh, no, you could use it for fucking ever. It was mostly used for like finger and toenails for the most part. It was never meant to be an internal sort of thing.
Sure.
But it worked in like small doses for that sort of shit. He also found the last 2 steps of John's process, which is, make sure the spermatic cord is open, transplant a blood vessel and nerve to the testes, didn't have any medical effect whatsoever. He also noted that there was a reason that John didn't add goat glands to both testicles. And this seems to be more of an insurance thing that if you fuck up on both, you've suddenly made your patient sterile. And if you only do one, there's still a chance you're going to be able to get away with it.
Ugh.
Oh, I forgot to say, the reason he seems to use mercurochrome is, yes, it's an antiseptic and can clear out whatever fuck up you might have done, but it also makes your urine cloudy for about a week afterwards, so it kind of makes it look like it's cleaning stuff out.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that would take 10 to 15 minutes.
That's it?
Yep, 10 to 15 minutes. That's how quick this guy could throw a goat testicle in a dude's cavity.
This is how quick someone could potentially ruin someone else's life.
Oh, 100%, yes. The procedure would be done, and you would get to recuperate in your room for the rest of the day, if not the rest of the week. But you had to be out by that Friday, no matter what condition you were in, because they had to make room for the next 16 patients that were coming in on Sunday.
Jesus.
And before you left, you got a couple parting gifts. One, Minnie requesting that you pay the $750 fee at varying levels of intensity. And a gold-sealed, black scripted certificate verifying that you got the procedure.
Which you fish out of a plastic treasure chest in the doctor's office.
We do have frames, but we charge $10 for those.
Oh boy.
I just imagine being the dude who wants to get that framed and just like puts it in the living room just to be like, hey, guess who here's a sex god?
Yeah. Guess whose junk was broken and now it's not broken, it's fixed.
Guess who has a happy wife in at least one way?
Oh my God.
So that's the whole thing. You've gone to Milford, you got fixed, you got a certificate to prove it. Have fun.
This is so barbaric.
It's not great. But Una, what if you don't want to go to Milford? Let's say you're scared of trains and you don't want to, you have a fear of training.
Oh, I thought you meant in general. And I was like, yes, I am already there, Dusty. Tell me about it.
Well, you're in luck because old Doc Brinkley has a deal for you. For only a $100 introductory fee, he will send you a monthly supply of his special gland emulsion that can be used to reinvigorate your prostate. Because Doc Brinkley made this correlation that men with healthy, unobstructive prostates have the best sex. And so if this emulsion can fix your prostate, then that's going to be just as good as getting the surgery. Not quite as good, but pretty decent. And I'm sorry to say this phrase, but it needs to be said because you're not just getting the emulsion. You're also getting a rectal syringe in which to apply it.
There it is.
Yep.
That's what I was waiting for.
Yep.
Yes.
A rectal dick fixing enema. And you're getting charged for new emulsions. This is the Swiffer of fixing your dick. It's never going to be permanent. You always have to get new shit to keep it working.
Just keep putting that emulsion on the prostate.
Yep.
Just really rub it in there.
Yeah, it's, science. This is And would you believe that after all that, John still felt he needed to add better educational credentials to his name? As though a lot of this was pushed by California's reaction to the diploma mill scandal, but it also seemed to work as kind of like a nice long European vacation for the Brinkleys. In 1925, John and Minnie set off for Europe, the Red Lobster of continents, to find a fancy-sounding honorary degree or two. First, they went to Dublin, but were dismayed when they found out that Trinity College's medical department was all run by allopaths, which are doctors that follow science. Undeterred, they went to London, and what do you know, they found the exact same thing with all the universities there. Not learning their lesson, they then went to Glasgow and found the exact same thing. It's all allopaths here, you're not getting a degree. So things are looking dire. So John swung big and decided, fuck it, we're going to Italy.
I love that they're just like, we just need to find a poor country. They will let us do anything. Ireland, wait, what? No. Yep. Scotland, wait, what? No. Italy for sure. Come on, guys.
Italy's broke, right? Italy's always broke. The University of Rome is where they first went. And the university said, look, we'll grant you entrance and we will give you a degree, but all you have to do is just pass the classes. The problem, though, is all the tests are in Italian, and John does not speak Italian.
It's a beautiful language. He should learn.
I know, right? The University of Turin was next on his list. And this was because one of his friends knew a professor who was there, but the professor was now an emeritus professor and wasn't there anymore, so they weren't able to actually work this out. So he wrote back to his friend, and his friend was like, hey, so that professor has a son. And the professor's son, I believe, is the dean at the University of Pavia. So they go up to Pavia. He takes a few series of exams, promised a huge burst of funding to the university's medical school, and after 19 days, gets a medical degree from the University of Pavia.
Good Lord. And shame on you, University of Pavia. You should know better. You're worth better.
It's Christopher Columbus's alma mater, so...
Oh, well, amazing. This is beautiful.
So using this degree, he gained licenses to practice medicine in Italy and England.
Because of reciprocity.
Yep. In 1927, though, the university and Italian government would be informed of the real background of John's American schooling. And this resulted in his diploma being rescinded by the head of the Italian government at the time. And let me look this up. I want to get this name right. The guy's name was Benito Mussolini.
Oh, shit.
Mussolini took time out of his day to rescind the diploma from John Brinkley.
And John Brinkley's nemesis wants to call chiropractic the Mussolini.
Or chiropractic is calling his nemesis the medical Mussolini.
That's it.
But by then, the damage had kind of already been done. John sent out press releases of his new degree, which got printed in the New York Evening Journal and resulted in thousands of letters per day arriving in Milford requesting John's services, once again giving a boost to his hospital. By 1927,
the Italians were like, Madonna, che pazzo, basta.
God damn it, Pavia. Like, how slow of a day was Benito having? He doesn't seem like the sort of guy with openings.
It's like, he got some trains running and then just rested on those laurels the whole time.
You might be right. I know very minimal about Mussolini's pre-World War II years, other than he went from being a socialist to a nationalist very quickly because he figured if I want to be violent, I can be violent this way.
I'm just probably misremembering like the videos when Mussolini and Hitler would get together and Mussolini would be gesturing like, okay, like this is, so we don't goose step as well. What are you going to do? I don't know.
Yeah, I do remember stories of Hitler not thinking Mussolini was good at anything. Was just like, the uncle in the relationship, just not bringing much to the table. But that being said, young, newly bald Mussolini having to come down and do this shit. So it's 1927. John and Minnie are now awash in success. There's no more ebbing and flowing. It's just consistent flow. John started rumors that he had actually planned to build a 100-room hospital just south of the radio station that would now include a pharmacy and an outpatient unit. As for the original hospital, he turned that into housing for hospital employees. And by 1929, land would finally be broken on a brick 3-story hospital, which by 1930 he would upgrade to 4 stories.
Ooh.
There was even talk of making a second post office just for all of John's letters. So what I was reading apparently is the post office got to the point that if you just signed an envelope John Brinkley and had the stamps on it, they'd just take it to Milford.
I love that. I kind of wish that were still the case with certain things.
Yeah. So not only that, but the Brinkleys welcomed their first child, John R. Brinkley III, or as they called him, Johnny Boy. And with a name like that, you bet your ass they spoiled this kid.
Aw.
He's described as being extremely smart. He would speak on the radio when he was 2 years old and had a habit of singing happy birthday on the radio to local children who had written in with what day their birthdays were.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. His parents also let him get away with literally anything he wanted. So,
no.
From what I read, one of his favorite single-digit age things to do was play with hammers and nails. And so the Brinkleys would come home from work to find the living room just riddled with fresh nails on the floor.
Oh, Jesus.
But it's Johnny Boy. They're going to let him fucking do it. When Johnny Boy went to his first day of kindergarten, this would be 1932, he rode his tricycle there, escorted by a bodyguard, and was followed by the Brinkleys in their limousine.
Oh, yikes.
The school built a private room for Johnny Boy and a tutor that Brinkley had hired just for him. However, they didn't want him to be completely isolated, so he would play around with kids during recess and lunch. But don't you fucking dare let him learn with those rabble.
This isn't healthy.
Yeah. But anyway, back to 1929. They just had their kid, and John would embark on his biggest money-making venture yet. As the popularity of his health show began to grow, he would begin to state the specific drugs that people needed to order to help them feel better. And if people listening noticed that they suffered the same symptoms as well as the letter writer, then they would need to write to John's pharmacy in Milford and get those prescriptions as well. People took up his advice, and orders flowed from faraway communities and straight through John. And this caused a lot of anger from pharmacies across the state who were watching their businesses dry up. So a delegation of druggists went to Milford to confront him. And rather than tell them all, it's a free market, eat shit, John actually had a more pragmatic and financially better idea. Instead, the pharmacists could join what John called the Brinkley Pharmaceutical Association. And if you joined, you could be the local contact for all of his listeners. He would even make things easy by associating a drug with a specific number. That way, a customer could walk in, order a set of numbers without having to remember the medical terms, and make the whole transaction quick and easy. And unsurprisingly, these pharmacies regained their business while those outside the association struggled. At its peak, the association had 1,500 members in Kansas, Colorado, Missouri, Nebraska, and Oklahoma. One bad side effect, though, was that people quit going to their own doctors as well, because they had one on the radio.
Yeah, I'm just going to get the number 5, more laudanum.
Yeah, it's, oh my God, I should have written down like what his most popular ones were. The number 60, I believe, is the weight loss one. And it was like a combination of something that like, I want to say it was like a mix of one thing that's a laxative and another thing that had no pharmaceutical use whatsoever or something like that. I should look into it for the next episode. I don't want to besmirch the Brinkley Pharmaceutical Association.
Right. Mainly it's a laxative, but the second part is for taste. You know, it's like an orange flavor.
Yeah. It should also be noted that most of the drugs that were being prescribed over the radio were homeopathic in nature rather than scientific. But placebo is a hell of a drug as well. And for a lot of people, it seemed to be working. Now, John wasn't making this deal entirely out of the goodness of his heart. He always assumed that doctors got a kickback from pharmacists for prescribing expensive drugs. And whether true or not, John felt that he deserved a little something for sending these places so much new business. And for each prescription sold, John would require $1. Which made a lot of sense because most of the things he was prescribing cost anywhere from $3 to $10. So it's not like he's taking that big of a cut. And these are drugs that these people could buy for anywhere from 10 to 50 cents. And so for the pharmacies, this ended up being a no-brainer, with some claiming that even including the kickback to John, they were making an extra $75 to $100 a day, which in our money is between $1,260 a day to $1,681 a day.
My God. And then what, 20 to 40 years later, the insurance company took a look at this and was like, no, but I want to cut too.
Yep. And to give himself a little bit of protection, he chose a druggist by the name of Percy Walker to lead the association, which was really a lot of luck because his brother-in-law was the Attorney General of Kansas. John also kept the members under a tight ship. He demanded that the list of numbered medicine be kept in a safe, to never sell the medicine for less than the price that he listed. And if a patient was unhappy with the medicine, they were to give the patient an immediate full refund, and they were to charge John directly for the full cost of the medicine. And also they had to report their sales every Saturday at the close of business. And if they didn't, the association would kick them out on Sunday morning.
Damn.
Yeah. So from this business alone, estimates of John's revenue ranges from $400,000 to $750,000 in 1929 money.
Oh my God.
So in our money, that is $6.7 to $12.6 million.
Holy shit.
That he made in 1 year. And on top of that, he was making around $1.5 million or $25.2 million in surgeries alone. The Brinkleys were now mind-bogglingly rich and hadn't invested any of it in anything. They just hadn't. Saving them from the immediate financial ruin of the Great Depression, which just hit.
Yeah.
But like hell, John was just going to let all that cash sit there while everything was burning down. The Brinkleys would end up buying the following: cars, a $7,000 Lincoln L Series that he adorned with gold-plated hubcaps, a few Cadillacs, one of which had his name and initials marked on the car in 13 different places in gold plating. They were very fond of diamonds. Many had many diamond rings, one being described as big as hazelnuts. John wore wore an 11-carat diamond on his right hand and a 14-carat diamond on his left, and wore those usually with a diamond tie pin that was 24 carats.
Please tell me he wore them both at the same time. And it's like, I call one justice and the other one truth.
You know, it's funny because there's a newspaper guy who came to interview him at one point, and he said he spent the first 5 minutes trying to figure out which of those 3 diamonds were the biggest. They also bought life insurance, which, you know, good idea. John had a policy for $140,000 and was then named the director of the Manhattan Mutual Life Insurance Company, where he got the policy. And after he got that job, he upped his policy to $191,000. It was considered to be one of the highest policies in the entire state.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He also bought a policy for Johnny Boy to ensure that he was well funded and could attain a degree in medicine by allotting him $200 per month after Johnny Boy turned 18. And finally, they bought a boat, a yacht to be specific, which was really good because the governor of Kansas, Jonathan Davis, had named John an admiral in the Kansas Navy.
I'm sorry, the Kansas Navy?
It sounds like something that's kind of a joke, sort of like, you know, being a colonel in Kentucky or something like that. Like, if you're a governor, you can give someone a title and it means fucking nothing. So, yeah, you're an admiral in the Kansas Navy. Have fun. Sail the
and I have a star system named after me. So what?
So John also got a uniform out of this deal, and he wore it every time he went sailing.
I just assumed it was good news because his next stop was going to be performing all of these medical procedures in international waters.
Oh my God. We'll get to that probably.
Oh no.
So despite all of this success, trouble's brewing. Facing a huge dip in sales, pharmaceutical companies were getting desperate, and they placed all the blame on Doc Brinkley. So they got a group together and sent them to the Kansas City Star newspaper. And these pharmaceutical companies said, hey, you know, hate to say it, but we have to cut back on our advertising for your paper. I wish we didn't have to, because I know your paper relies solely on advertising to be able to actually, you know, stay open. But gosh, you know, if it wasn't for Doc Brinkley over in Milford, Kansas, you could probably save your newspaper. Well, I guess we're going to go.
Nice newspaper you got.
100%. Pharmaceutical companies have apparently always been the same.
Yes, they have always been pharmaceutical companies.
So now with a really good reason to look into John, the Kansas City Star decided, hey, we're going to look into you. But there's also a second reason they hate him. So in 1929, the Federal Radio Commission said that they were going to allow only one station in Kansas to increase their wattage to 5,000 watts, which means the radio station would be essentially, you could hear it pretty much anywhere in the country with that much power.
Oh.
And the 2 stations that went up against it were John's radio station and the Kansas City Star's radio station. The thing though is John had a friend who was a member of the Federal Radio Commission, and
he's got too many friends in high places.
Yeah, sorry man, John's radio station is better. He's getting the 5,000, yo.
No.
So yeah, John ends up winning. And to give you an idea of how big this was for him, Radio Digest would have a competition the next year to kind of be like the Nielsen ratings, where they're going to try to find out which radio station has the most listeners. The top station in the entire country was John's KFKB, and it wasn't even close. He had 256,000 listeners. The station that came in second was KFOX in Long Beach, California, with 64,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and the Star station came in 25th.
Oh.
So they already don't like John. He's now about to take away their jobs just because he rooked a bunch of people very well.
Yeah, he's also flaunting like gold hubcapped cars in the middle of depression. No one likes a braggart.
Well, and the thing that he has on his side is that he has supplied so much useful information to farmers during this time and is now giving them vital information during the Great Depression, a time when they need it the fucking most. So he has developed a strong allyship, not just in Kansas, but in all the states surrounding.
Yeah, no one has gas to fuck around, go to town to see what grain prices are and then come back.
Exactly. So to take down John, they would need an ally. You know, someone who's already been here before and knows where to dig, maybe already has a bunch of information, someone who doesn't like quacks to begin with. Oh my God, wait, is that Morris Fishbane's music? Hell yeah, it is. He's here to break a fucking table over your bullshit.
Fishbane!
From the top fucking rope. So for the past decade, Fishbane and the American Medical Association have been building a case against John. And with the aid of the Star, they were ready to finally take things public. Journalist Alexander McDonald of the Star would be placed in charge of new research and began traveling to all of John's old locations where he lived, culminating with him interviewing Sally Wyke.
Bum, bum, bum.
And Sally was more than happy to tell them how he abandoned their family, has not been paying child support, how he did this sneaky divorce without her even fucking knowing, and that she has married someone new now, and tell that bastard I'm fucking happy now, and he's never going to be a goddamn doctor.
Yeah, initial image of Sally taking a long drag from her cigarette, being like, how much time you got?
Her best friend setting fires in the background for ambiance.
Yes. Mood lighting.
So McDonald's final move was to go to Milford and interview John himself. By this point, I don't think John knew the level that was about to be exposed against him, so he was a little on edge, but at the same time, he's like, I'm John Brinkley. People fucking love me. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
McDonald noted that John was jovial the whole time, answering every question with pride or a joke or two thrown in. John spoke of construction of the new hospital, his plans to build a Methodist church, which he planned to name after himself, the Brinkley Methodist Church, I believe.
You're not a saint, sir.
And he also planned on building support buildings for the hospital that would house shops, a gym, and a theater. He said his dream was to rival the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota.
Oh.
And with that, the softball questions were done. John was asked if he was worried he would lose his broadcasting license, because during this period, the American Medical Association was pushing hard for this, noting that John was doing more harm prescribing medicine to people he had not diagnosed in person, and that he was, quote, a charlatan of the rankest sort. John retorted that they couldn't take something that he didn't own. See, the year prior, John decided to incorporate the station under the Broadcasting Association, and it was owned by him and 7 other residents of Milford. John kept one of the 1,000 shares of the company, and that's all he owned. What John didn't think anyone knew, though, was that 6 of the 7 remaining owners also only had 1 share, which means the rest, the other 992, went to one majority owner, Minnie Brinkley.
This slippery like an eel fella.
These aren't good scams, Jonathan. You can't just, your one plan can't just be have Minnie do it. She seems game, but you're putting too much on her.
It works for the mob. You just put the house in the wife's name. Oh my God.
But what if Kansas revoked his license to practice medicine? So what, said John. His staff of 5 surgeons were licensed, and he could just, stay on as a resident expert and not do the surgeries himself. His medical schooling was brought into question, but John dodged that as well. The part where he slipped, though, was denying that he got any kickbacks from the Pharmacy Association, which, if you'll remember, in our times, he's getting millions of dollars. He admitted that, yeah, he got money, but the money that he got went straight to the funds for the radio station and never went to his own pocket. He also refused the idea that anyone had ever died from any of his surgeries. McDonald finally asked John, how much money have you made? To which John placed a hand on McDonald's knee and said, quote, now you have no right to ask me that, have you? I'm doing quite well, thank you.
Oh, yikes.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Quiet politeness and human touch, fuck that.
Oh, no.
McDonald then ran out of the room, burned his pants, and went to Kansas City. The next day, the Star ran an article focusing on John's dissatisfied patients, of which turns out there were quite a bit. The majority interviewed stated they felt amazing after the procedure, but as time went by, they returned to their old selves. A farmer by the name of S.A. Hiddle said that John and Horatio Osborne had ruined and mangled him. A man named Grant Eden stated he had the surgery on a Sunday, got worse, but was kicked out of the hospital on Friday, and after a local doctor looked at him, said nothing could be done. Eden said, quote, I am a ruined man physically.
Yikes.
After publication, the Star became flooded with letters from both sides of the spectrum, either fans who adored all that Doc Brinkley had done for them or enemies who were victims of his procedures and prescriptions. The Star would publish the death certificates of people who passed following their goat procedures, and weirdly enough, they were death certificates that had been signed by John. Now, John would answer to these under oath, claiming them to be cases of natural causes, or one was an appendectomy that had gone wrong, one was a premature birth, but none, according to John, were ever caused by the surgery. And this became an issue with the Star and McDonald's reporting, that even after proving their case, they just kind of kept going with less and less provable evidence. They started making claims that John had killed people, but really didn't have any evidence to correlate or to actually prove that the surgery had done it.
Come on, guys.
Which in turn caused people to believe that this was now becoming a hit job to take out the one doctor they had ever trusted.
The one doctor who gives out free farm information.
Yeah,
farmers.
Every Thanksgiving and Christmas, he's hanging out geese and turkey to people. He paved the fucking roads in town. He gave us plumbing. Fuck you, coming here from Kansas City, acting like you know us.
Yeah,
I bet
that man has
Kansas
2
part.
diamonds and a third he wears around his neck.
He hit me with his car and it was an honor.
Yeah. You don't even go here.
This guy doesn't even get drunk and shoot people anymore.
It's most of the time.
Yeah, look, he has his moments and we let them slide. So the Star had overplayed their hand, but it just gave Morris Fishbane and the AMA more time to make their case to the federal government. So Morris did try to go local first, checking in with the Kansas Medical Society to see what they'd been able to accomplish during their time. And just like the AMA, they had a huge file on John. But after presenting their evidence that John should lose his medical and broadcasting license, the state attorney general, who I'll remind you is the brother-in-law of one of his key allies, the attorney general said, yeah, sorry guys, you don't have enough evidence for us to turn things over. Sorry.
Yeah, and also, I don't want to make Thanksgiving any more awkward than it already is.
Hey, you want to hear about how my dick works better?
Yeah. No.
Pass the potatoes, please.
Oh, what was that? Say grace? That's what you wanted me to do? Okay.
I was brag. Thank God for my good dick. Thank you for making goats, God.
But have you tried the enema?
Look, I will fuck my wife on this table. Push the cranberries over. I do not care. Anyway, politics, right? Yeah. So these people also contacted the Federal Radio Commission and once again never heard anything back because John had a friend on the commission. So time would pass, but eventually the Attorney General would cave to pressure and agreed to sue John. Even the FRC would eventually look into claims, and this was after the guy who was on the board ended up getting voted out.
Aha.
John Brinkley would hire the law firm of Jackson, Forbes, and Smith, whose partners included a former state attorney general and the son-in-law of the sitting governor. John also began something of a habit of hiring the Pinkerton Detective Agency to look into all of his enemies and juries and yeah. It's not a good thing to start spending your money on. For those of you who don't know, the Pinkerton Detective Agency is notorious for being strike breakers and murderers and just general. It's like if Blackwater decided to do domestic work.
Yes. Like hyper domestic work. There was never a worker with a grievance that they didn't love just beating the shit out of.
Oh yeah. I'm sure we'll do a topic on that sometime, like talking about the Pinkertons and the Wobblies fighting and like the Battle of Blair Mountain. There's tons of things to discuss of the history of detective agencies just kicking the shit out of union members. But yeah, these are the people that John's like, I want you on my side. You seem to have your mind changed by money often. Let's work together.
You'll get the job done for the right price.
So before charges could be placed against John, he sued Morris Fishbane for calling him a quack. And he sought $600,000 in damages of their time money. But before that trial could even take place, the FRC and the Kansas State Medical Board began their hearings on John's licenses, and both took place within a week of each other in May of 1930. The medical board would be the first to strike. They found that John had lied about his medical education in order to get his license, but they also found out about all that violent drunkenness, which is not really a good look. They also found his radio diagnoses and goat gland surgery to be fraudulent, or it would be his degrees that the state found most egregious. Now, John was able to get some Pinkertons to interview the Kansas board and were able to get them to admit that no matter what John said during his license hearing, they were going to vote to remove his license from him. So John proceeded to stall the hearing as long as he could. And it ended up running out of road doing this process by July 15th, 1930. But before that, the FRC officially told John they would not be renewing his license. His radio station would be gone, but he would be allowed to keep broadcasting it if he chose to respond to the decision and appeal, which he did. So John lawyered up and went to DC to face the FRC. He brought 75 satisfied customers along with him to the court. The FRC laid out the case to John as having broken 3 rules. 1, he was broadcasting outside the assigned wavelength, which meant he was broadcasting stronger than he was allowed. He was broadcasting obscene and indecent things. And 3, his radio diagnoses were harmful to the public. Now, the obscene and indecent things is just because he was talking about his goat gland surgery, and any talk that even resembled sex could fit into that. So the hearing, for the most part, didn't go well. An expert from Johns Hopkins went in hard against John, and all his team had was anecdotal statements for validity of John's broadcasts. Sensing this might end badly, John offered a compromise. He would end the medical question box show in return for a license renewal. And the commission denied this plea bargain and voted 3-2 to just get rid of his license. So the minority of the board were interested in taking John's deal and giving him a probationary license, but the majority were already too pissed off at John to give him the second chance. So KFKB and John's second source of income were dead in one go. But he would have until February of 1931 until his license ran out. And during this time, John went ballistic on the radio. He kind of went Conan O'Brien on NBC's Scorched Earth.
Yeah.
He spent his time yelling at the Kansas City Star, claimed the American Medical Association bribed the FRC, and made the claim that President Herbert Hoover, under duress from newspapermen of the country, made it his personal goal to see John's radio station shut down.
I mean, sure, it's Hoover, so he might not have better things to do with his time. But let's assume he does.
Yeah, let's assume that between everyone dying and having the lowest popularity historically available, like, that's a win. I can have this as a win, right?
Yeah.
But all this radio drama had overshadowed John's issues in Milford. The Methodists had refused to accept the church that he had just built for the town. The new Brinkley Hospital closed 2 weeks after it opened, and procedures returned to the smaller clinic. Interest in the procedure tanked, and staffing had to be cut significantly. Also, the U.S. Postal Service was real curious if John had been doing any fraud by mail, which is never a great sign.
Yeah, no, and they are on that shit.
It's like, I think it's the most fun that they ever have. Like, we get to look into one crime and we're good at it.
Right. It's like, yay, a crime. We're going to get you.
Someone kicks open the break room. Is like, guys, we get to go outside.
We got crime in.
But first, John had to focus on trying to keep his medical license. The case would be in Topeka and start on July 15th. The day began with one of John's lawyers, and Alexander McDonald, nearly fighting each other before the proceedings even started. Apparently, John's lawyer had to be held back by 2 people.
Hold me back!
It was going to be fisticuffs in the courtroom. So once everyone settled down, John was presented with the 11 reasons that he should lose his license. 1, he claimed high school education from 2 places that did not exist.
Okay.
2, on March 1920, he was charged with 2 counts of selling liquor, which is, it's kind of a cute story because what had actually happened is while he was gone, Minnie sold liquor to a dentist in town. And the dentist then took it and got wasted in a different place. And so when he got arrested for, drinking during Prohibition, he narked on Minnie. And so John hears Minnie's in jail. He goes back and he's like, my wife's covering from me. I did it. Put me in jail. And he spent 3 months in jail.
Oh, that's honorable.
Yeah, it's one of those like con cute sort of things where it's like, I need a partner. You have to be the one with a clean name here.
Yeah,
that's your job.
Honor among thieves, but why don't I sit in the jail cell?
Number 3, he threatened to shoot a man, which we've covered.
Yes, in depth, yes.
4,
just one?
I mean, look, you can't list everyone who lived in the town at the time. 4, he practiced medicine in Chicago in 1920 without a license. 5, his license in Connecticut was revoked due to fraudulent degrees. 6, California refused to license him because of those degrees. 7, he was indicted in California for fraud and the governor refused to extradite him. 8, kept claiming to be a graduate of University of Pavia years after Mussolini took it away. 9, his compound goat gland operation could not be performed by others as he described it. 10, he diagnosed and prescribed medicine over the radio. And 11, he advertised his medical business through his radio station. So of those charges, most are just kind of examples as to, why other places refused him a license. They really didn't have a lot of legal standing. It was really only the last 2 that they could use to take away his license. The rest were just character issues.
Right.
So the trial would run for 2 months, with both sides producing dozens of witnesses to decry and celebrate John. In this instance, John would take the stand and pulled one hell of a ballsy move. He told the board that if they were so concerned with his procedure, they should just come out to Milford and watch him perform it. To which the board, knowing they had to give John every chance to show they had neutrality in the matter, because the worry was, if they seemed even a little bit biased, there was a chance it could get overturned. So they had to be as neutral as they could. And so they agreed. They would send a dozen doctors in their stead to report back their findings. And on the day of the procedure, John took them through the whole shebang. He got everyone to wear sterilized robes. Minnie showed them how she gets the goat glands from the source. And then they watched John perform 2 surgeries. The second one, apparently there were complications, so it took a little bit longer than expected.
That's a great sign.
And after that, surgery did not go the best. He finished with a flourish, telling the crowd that if they had any patients in need of the surgery that they were too scared to help, they should just send them all to Milford.
Maybe tone down the bravado.
And then everyone clapped, and that man was Albert Einstein.
Yeah.
And so what happened next, as is tradition on this podcast, depends on who you ask. According to John's biography, the dozen doctors left with their heads hung in shame, tails between their legs, beaten by this great oracle of Kansas. What really happened, though, is the doctors who were present immediately reported back to the Kansas board and called up the Kansas City Star newspaper. And they had
holy fuck
the following things to say. 1, Minnie has no idea how to remove goat testicles, and after she was done, all the patients now probably have tetanus.
Oh my God.
2, the nerves that John claimed to be rejuvenating isn't where he did the surgery.
Oh no.
The surgery that he did would have no effect on any part of the body unless he introduced an infection in the process. And 4, a guy decided to add on to this saying like, yeah, it didn't do anything, but he did a good job doing it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, they're less. He's clearly skilled with the scalpel. I mean, he did it.
He's done hundreds of these. I would hope at least it'd be a small scar.
This is like abstract art of surgery. Just I'll Cronenberg the inside of you. I'll stitch it up really nice. It'll look good in the end. Here's your certificate.
It's like weird porn. It's like, it's not my thing, but they were really into it.
God damn it. God damn it. Like, if this guy could just teach knife work. So the second the doctors got back to Topeka, they gave their finding, and John's medical license was immediately revoked.
Hey!
Not a good bet on yourself. John proceeded to cry persecution at the hands of all these allopaths who just wanted to ruin him. Clearly, he saw them leave in shame. What, is he seeing things?
Yeah, this is cancel culture. God,
I taught Minnie how to cut those goat balls. How dare you fuckers? That's my wife.
Yeah, you come to me, you say that to my face. That's my wife.
And true to his word, though, the hospital continued to run as the other surgeons picked up the slack, which gave John more time to scream on the radio, counting down to his final day on the airwaves until 1931. And as things usually are, the more persecuted John portrayed himself, the more business returned.
Oh, no.
To some in Kansas, this man had been railroaded out of his career. Not only that, but all these people from Washington, D.C. and Chicago and Missouri seemed to just be out to get one of Kansas's own heroes. And this is also during a time during the Great Depression where people are losing their jobs all over the place. And so if even an honorable man can lose his job, then how are any of us safe?
Yeah, and maybe, and also a time when, like, if anyone's looking for a quick fix in their life, it's now. It's like, hey, maybe I just put some gonads on my testicles, and I don't know, it can't be any worse than right now.
Yeah. So yeah, it had just become a regional fight to save one of their own from all these outsiders. And as for John, despite the bluster, the summer had crushed his health and spirit. The summer is usually when his family goes on leisurely vacations to New England or Europe, and now everyone was just spent. So John took another really big swing, and he bought a plane, and he hired his own private pilot. Kind of a cute story between him and Minnie is when commercial travel started to become a thing, they both promised to never fly anywhere because they didn't want to take the risk of orphaning Johnny Boy.
Oh.
But John started to read about how airplanes were actually getting safer and safer to the point that he went out to Topeka, test flew with his pilot, really enjoyed his time, saw how safe it was, hired the pilot on the spot to be his personal pilot for the rest of time, and bought a plane.
My God.
And after Minnie flew once, she enjoyed it too. And from there, the family escaped the area to finally take some time and relax. Now, here's where the story kind of takes multiple potential paths, and it really just kind of depends on what you want to believe. Down one path, the Brinkleys fly into Little Rock, Arkansas to see some of Minnie's family. And while they're there, John's recapping to a friend on what's been happening. The friend says, well, why don't you just run for governor? That way you can fire the medical board. And when the Brinkleys land back in Kansas, a reporter asks John, hey, what are your plans? And he impulsively said, I'm running for governor.
Oh, no.
Now, the more realistic version is that after the medical hearing, John started to get flooded with letters begging him to run for governor. It's 1930s election year. Either way, 5 days after John lost his license, he would take to the radio and announce officially he's running for governor of Kansas. But there's a really big hurdle in front of him because this is, if I remember right, around September 20th. The election is in 41 days.
Pish posh.
Both of the major parties have already had their primaries and picked who they wanted. You can get on the ballot, but you have to be a write-in candidate. And so John decides, fuck it, I'm going to be a write-in candidate.
Whose name is more well-known, buckos? I've got a radio station.
And so, like I said, that leaves a really big hurdle for our man, John. And, I think we need to wait a week to really soak this in. And so next week, we're going to talk about his first run for governor.
Oh, no.
And then his second run for governor.
Oh, boy.
And if we have time, maybe his third. I think I have to put parentheses around his doctor now. I don't know. I don't know if that happens if you lose your license, if that removes your title.
Yeah. Quote unquote doctor.
Yeah.
John Brinkley.
So yeah, how you feeling on that?
I'm feeling so grifted, fully grifted between the enemas, the kickbacks, the diamonds.
Making that much money in 1 year. I feel like if I were running a con, if I hadn't just convinced myself that I actually was doing all this good work, which I feel like is where he fell. It's It might have started as a con, but he probably thought he was actually doing good work.
Oh, absolutely. He was definitely a doctor in his mind.
Yeah. But if it was a straight con, I think 1 year of selling that shit, you leave the goddamn country. You go back to Siam, you try to find that prince that you gave a circumcision to, hope things are still good, and just live there the rest of your life.
You go back to Siam with your degree from the University of not Padua, the other one. And
Padua State.
Yeah. You just live high on the hog, eating mangoes and
oh my god,
living as semi-royalty.
Yeah, but nope, it's fucking hubris, man. Hubris takes down the best cons.
We would do this so much better if someone would just give us the chance.
It's wild, especially, like, I hate the fact that he actually has done at least one thing that was really good. Everything he did to help the farming community in Kansas is gigantic. I don't think I could overstate how big that would be for a struggling community who is so used to the system fucking them over. Actually have someone on their side.
And it feels like in all of the scripting, he tripped and fell into something that was so monumentally positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fucking unreal. He has such a knack for it. He's very good at radio. That if telecommunications was a thing back then, he probably could have, I don't want to say he could be like a Casey Kasem of some sort, but he definitely could have found a real career doing that sort of thing. Like,
more and more, I feel like we're listening to proto Dr. Mehmet Oz.
Oh, 100%. Like this guy, come to think of it, because if we're looking at eclectic medicine as being homeopathy mixed with Native American herbalism, and Mehmet Oz is more like, modern medicine mixed with Sufi spiritualism. It's, because he does describe himself as a Sufist and like believes a lot in mysticism and things like that. I think you can kind of see at least some of the Venn diagram going over each other, and being able to use that built trust and having genuine skill and at least something to prove that you're not just a grifty asshole.
Right. And unironically believing in yourself this whole time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, fuck. Yeah. So I hope you guys are enjoying the story of Mehmet Oz's origins. This is the story I told to avoid this. God damn it.
You can't avoid it. You can't avoid it.
Fucking Oprah. God damn it. Anyway, so thank you for joining us this week. Next week, I don't know if we'll finish it out. I really don't know. There's a lot of story to this guy that's like really interesting and easy to obsess over. So
I love it.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, get out there and vote. If you're in Pennsylvania, you got those primaries coming up on the 17th.
Please be involved.
Yeah.
Get involved.
Mm-hmm. I think we're endorsing Inche Zama for the Republican Party. The very kind surgeon that no one will vote for.
Yes.
So anyway, thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next week on Gadfly. I'm a medicine. It doesn't work. Gadfly is a production of Added Serotonin. Our episodes are edited by Brianna Valentine of Rem Alternus Productions. Our theme song is Sophomore Makeout by Silent Partner, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GadflyPod.
Ready to level up your cosplay game? Check out the Geek Forge on Etsy. With a variety of props to give your photos that extra spark, you'll find just what you need. Hold magical fire in the palm of your hand, or take a potion to restore your mana. With a large variety of colors, you can choose your own magical flavor for your cosplay. Bring drama to your photo shoots with these vibrant props and more, all available at the Geek Forge. Are you ready to level up your cosplay?